Hi everyone, I'm Celeste. Welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, I've never had a formal Q&A on my channel, but one of the questions that I do get asked frequently is, what are my favorite historical series and period dramas? Whether it's a film or a limited TV series, what are some of my favorites? I started to write those down because recently I started watching Sharp, starring Sean Bean, which is wonderful. And I also started to watch Hornblower, which are based on the novels by C.S. Forster. And so, I started to really start thinking about all of the different series that I've watched. I adore historical dramas. I adore masterpiece theater, all of those things. And there's nothing I love better, especially like on a Sunday evening after supper, to settle in with a wonderful period drama. I love them set in all different periods as well. So that being said, I do have my clipboard here with my handy notes, my copious notes. And the last time I counted on this list, I had over 30 different series that I wanted to share with you. Thus, I'm not going to go into an awful lot of detail, but I will do kind of a countdown. I also wanted to say that in this video, I am not going to be including mystery series because I have at least 30 of those as well that I love. And so obviously doing 30 period dramas and 30 mysteries, we would be here for hours, and you don't want to do that. So I will make that into a separate video covering all of my favorite mystery series. But anyway, without further ado, let's move on here. So I had mentioned that I have started Sharp, which is the series based on the books by Bernard Cornwell, and those are wonderful, starring Sean Bean. Hornblower. And then I'm also very excited that there is a new series of The Gilded Age coming soon. I love The Gilded Age. It is done by Julian Fellowes of Downton Abbey fame and a lot of other movies and things. And it's so fun to have a historical series set in the Gilded Age, and I love it when they film on location in Rhode Island. I love that whole time period. I think it's fascinating. The railroad barons and the Vanderbilts and the Astors and all of the old money and that world that is also evoked in books by people like Edith Wharton. So it's just a lot of fun. And then I also wanted to mention the movie The Last of the Mohicans, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. And that was actually, scenes from that were filmed in North Carolina. And I actually went to Chimney Rock in North Carolina where they filmed the waterfall scene. And one of the battle scenes is filmed on Chimney Rock. So I climbed way up there, and it is just staggeringly beautiful when you reach the top of Chimney Rock. And it just really evoked the whole Last of the Mohicans story for me. It's of course based on the book by James Fenimore Cooper. And then in 26th place, we have All Creatures Great and Small, and I love both versions of that. So, you know, there is the old series of All Creatures Great and Small, and then, of course, the newer series of both are based upon the memoirs of James Herriot, whose real name was James White, and he used the pen name James Herriot. I think they both have their strengths. They both possess like a quiet beauty. They're both just wonderfully filmed and very sensitively portraying the lives of these people and the life of James Herriot, who was the Yorkshire pastoral veterinarian. And then in 25th place, we have Downton Abbey. I haven't watched the movies, so I don't know if they're any good, but I did watch the series. And, you know, It is a bit soap opera-ish at times, but it's also just lavish, opulent. I love seeing the difference between the lives of those living upstairs and downstairs. The costumes were just beautiful. I love how it covers real-life historical events like the sinking of the Titanic, the entry into World War I, and all of that. And I also think it does a really good job showing the decay of the old manor system and how, you know, the aristocrats who lived in these old, beautiful manor houses had to sort of see the sign of the times and change the way they'd have to adapt to the changing times as modernization came into being. So love Downton Abbey. What's not to love? It's a wonderful show to watch in like November, you know, when it's getting cold out and you want to snuggle in and binge watch a series. Downton Abbey is always a lovely one. Maggie Smith, you can't do better for an actress than Dame Maggie Smith. So yeah, I love Downton Abbey. And then next up, I would say, is The White Queen. Now, this was a series that was based upon several books by the author Philippa Gregory, and it details the life of Elizabeth Woodville, Edward IV, Richard III, that whole time period. I love the way that The White Queen is filmed. It's just opulent. It's beautiful. And I love that it has kind of a fairy tale quality because Elizabeth Woodville came from the Rivers family, and they were supposed to sort of be like witches of the rivers or sorceresses, and they used river magic. I love how that is woven into the TV series, and I thought the acting was really good, and it's really kind of what made me a Ricardian. I loved the actor who portrayed Richard III, and it just got me so interested in Richard III and that whole War of the Roses Plantagenet time period. So The White Queen. And then I can't do a video like this without talking about Little House on the Prairie. Now, it certainly doesn't have the aristocratic touch of Downton Abbey or, you know, any of those, but Little House on the Prairie started in 1974, of course, starring Melissa Gilbert, Michael Landon, Melissa Sue Anderson, Karen Grassley, and the whole cast. And it was just such a heartwarming, lovely part of my childhood. I remember coming home from school and, you know, putting my backpack down, and before I would start my homework, I would get a little snack and watch a TV show, and or go outside and play. But usually, you know, I would come in and have a snack. And I remember I would always watch Little House on the Prairie because they showed it in the afternoons. And I have heard through the grapevine that there is a reboot coming to Netflix, and I'm very excited about it. Some people who are kind of classicist purists are saying, oh, we can't have a reboot, they're going to modernize it, it's going to be full of woke people. No, 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 no. You know, these issues have always existed. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't say for sure it's going to be good. Who knows? Nobody's seen it yet, but I'm really excited about it. So that's my vote. And then I also really, really enjoyed the series 1883 by Taylor Sheridan. And this is in the Dutton family universe. And I just love this specific series by Taylor Sheridan. It takes place after the Civil War, and the Dutton family join a wagon train which is headed west to Oregon. It stars Sam Elliott, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, and the thing... Oh, somebody's horn is on now. The thing I love about it is it does not glorify cowboys in the West. It kind of does away with that myth. and it shows it unvarnished, white people going out west, taking lands that Native Americans already lived on. It shows the racism, it shows the violence, it shows the hardship. And it's a beautiful story, though, narrated by a young woman and who's a member of the Dutton family. And if you have the opportunity to see it on a large TV screen, please do, because it is just, the vistas are so panoramic. I don't know what the word is, epic. I guess you would call it epic. It's really lovely, and I never thought I would be someone who would like a Taylor Sheridan series, but I really do. I think it's wonderful, and I would love to watch it again. And there was actually another series he did, I think it was Taylor Sheridan, called Boss Reeves, and that was also very good. Also after the Civil War, and about an African-American man who had been a Buffalo soldier, I think. I haven't seen it in a long time, but that was very good too, Boss Reeves. But 1883 is just wonderful. Panoramic, you have to see it. Very adult in its content, but, spoiler alert there. And then at number 21, a very different, much more innocent kind of story, and that is The Duchess of Duke Street, which came out in 1976 and 1977. It's set in London. The period it takes place in is between 1900 and 1925, and it is the story of a poor servant who works her way up to be a cook and finally an eminent hotel owner. It's loosely based upon a true story, and it stars the actress Gemma Jones, and I just got so hooked on The Duchess of Duke Street. I remember watching that when it was originally on the air, and it's just a lot of fun watching her rise from rags to riches. And then at number 20, I don't think any list of mine would be complete without mentioning Outlander. That is based on the series of books by Diana Gabaldon. I don't know if it's Gabaldon, but I've read most of the Outlander series, and I love watching it as well. It involves time travel, historical drama, romance. You learn a lot of history as well. The clearances, the Scots, the battles that they had. Oh my gosh, it's just a lot. And then it goes up through the American Revolution, and it's kind of like a magic realism story because it involves time travel and witchcraft and so on, but really, really neat series. I love Outlander. And then at number 19 is The Bletchley Circle, and this is a mystery series set in 1952, and there were women who were code breakers at Bletchley Park in World War II, and now it's 1952, the war is over, but the four sort of reunite and help to solve a mystery by using their code-breaking skills. And lots of good acting in this. Anna Maxwell Martin and Rachel Sterling, who I just love so much. Diana Rigg's daughter, Rachel Sterling, also a really great actress in her own right. Then at number 18, I had kind of a tie, sort of cheating here by having a tie, but between Sanditon and Jamaica Inn. A lot of people do not like Sanditon. A lot of Jane Austen fans don't like Sanditon. I didn't see what was wrong with it. I really enjoyed it. People were complaining that the hairstyles weren't accurate and there were other details that weren't accurate, but they ignore all of the details which were really accurate. And I got a book that was sort of behind the scenes of the making of Sanditon, and it goes into detail about, going for the water cure and what was the season, and what kind of makeup was there available at the time, or did they not wear makeup, and what was it like to be someone's ward at that time. So they actually paid really good detail to a lot of historical aspects of the story. Maybe they missed some, but I don't think that's a reason to condemn the entire series. And I thought the acting was really good. I loved some of the relationships that developed as the series went on to later seasons. So yeah, Sanditon. And then Jamaica Inn. Okay, this is the version that starred Jessica Brown Finley from Downton Abbey and Matthew McNulty, who is quite handsome and a good actor. And all I can say about this particular version is atmosphere. It was so atmospheric. It really evoked the moors and the grounds of Jamaica Inn and Cornwall, and when they would go down to the cove and loot the shipwrecks and all of that. It was just kind of dark, but also romantic, but also kind of brutal. There was a great deal of poverty. There was abuse. I don't know. It was bleak. It was kind of bleak, but I loved it. So I don't know how to explain it other than that, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's worth a shot. It conveyed to me the spirit that Daphne du Maurier conveys in her novel, Jamaica Inn. I thought it was quite successful. Okay, next up, we have another sort of tie, and that is for Poldark. It's based on Winston Graham's books. And there was the original series starring Robin Ellis, and then there was the later series starring Aidan Turner. And yeah, they are based upon these books by Winston Graham. I actually picked these up recently, and I'm thinking about reading them soon. So we have Ross Poldark by Winston Graham, and then we also have Demelza by Winston Graham. And I just thought these were lovely little editions. I don't know if they're too small for my eyesight, but these are the Pan Macmillan editions, and they have several of the Poldark series. So I thought I might give those a try sometime soon. But I just really adored both series. I love the original series. In the years that followed that, on Facebook, I actually friended Robin Ellis, or his page, I guess you could say. And the really neat thing is that his wife, who manages the page, she actually answers you. You can participate in conversations and so on. Since that series went off the air, he became a really good chef, and they live in France. And so a lot of their posts are about recipes that he's sharing, because he had like a cooking school in France. Very nice people, according to at least their Facebook page. And I love the original series. I also love the newer series, and recently rewatched the entire Poldark series this past winter. And in both series, you cannot get a better villain than George Warlegan. And, it's all about the mining areas of the Cornish coast. And Ross Poldark is a former soldier who comes back from the colonies after Britain has lost the American Revolution. It starts in 1783 and goes to, I think, 1801. So Ross returns from the war. He comes back to reunite with his love, Elizabeth, but things have changed since he left. And, then of course Demelza comes into the picture, and the arch rival is George Warlegan, and it's all about mining and poverty and English law and so many interesting things. So yeah, I think I would really like to at least give Ross Poldark's book a try, and see if I might be interested in reading more of the series. But you really can't go wrong with either of the TV productions. They're both really good, each for their own reasons. Okay, and then number 16, Call the Midwife. This is about nurses who are midwives in the East End of London from the 50s through the 70s. It is such a dear show. It is just charming, and especially the first few seasons. As the series went on, you know, season 4, 5, 6, etc., I did find my attention starting to stray a little bit, but the first at least 3 seasons are just classic, and the rest is still very good. And they have Christmas specials, and it's about the nurses and midwives of Nonata's House, which is a nursing convent. And yeah, I think this book is a really good one to have. It's The Life and Times of Call the Midwife. If you're interested in learning more, it sort of annotates the show, gives you behind the scenes. It goes through each character of the first 2 seasons, and it also tells you a lot of things you might not have known, like housing, street life, poverty in the East End in the 50s. It shows you what childcare was like at the time, and you know how pediatric medicine developed at that time. There's just tons of stills and quotes from the show and how they made it as realistic as they could. I'll just show you a few images here. I can't really see what I'm showing you, but you'll get the idea. So what was faith like at that time in that place? So I just love these PBS kind of behind the scenes looks at some of their historical dramas. And I think the word I would use more than anything else for Call the Midwife is it's a show about compassion. And it's so heartwarming. I swear at the end of every single episode, I'm sobbing. Because it's just such a touching show. It like tears your heart apart and then puts it back together in every single episode. So love Call the Midwife. And I grew up going to schools with nuns in convents. So yeah, I mean, that's my jam. Number 15, a very different kind of medical drama. This is The Nick. And this came out 2014, 2015. It's an American medical drama. It takes place in New York City, and it's set at the turn of the century, 1900. New York City, it's at the Knickerbocker Hospital. And this is a hard series to watch, even for me. Like, I give you these warnings that things have adult content, but wow, the turn of the century. You know, when we say let's make things great and the way it used to be, not everything was great. The medical care at that time was both on the forefront. It was, you know, cutting edge of modern medicine, but there were also incredibly inhumane, barbaric practices also going on at the same time. Look up the eugenics crusade and the way that people with special needs were treated. The show deals with things like ableism and sterilizing people who were institutionalized against their will. It covers so many different topics. The acting is fabulous, and in particular, Clive Owen, he plays the main doctor. He plays the lead role. It's very dark, but so worthwhile. I think people should just see it. It's wonderful. So that's The Nick. And then moving up the list, we're at number 14, Home Fires. Oh, I love this show so much. Why? Actually, the next 3 were series which were canceled, either by the BBC or, you know, public television or whatever. Why do they always cancel the best shows? I don't know. But Home Fires, which came out in 2015 and ended suddenly for no reason, but it's about women who were part of the Women's Institute of World War II. It's a rural Cheshire community in England, and they convert a home into the Women's Institute, where they do things like grow victory gardens and do fundraisers and things like that. It brings together a lot of different women from various branches of life, different social classes, who wouldn't ordinarily maybe be friends, but they're all sort of thrown together in this war effort. And the acting is impeccable. There's Samantha Bond, there's Francesca Annis, who I adore, and just so many others. My favorite actress in the series is a woman called Claire Rushbrook, and I don't know much about her, but she plays this really resilient woman who is a victim of spousal abuse. And I don't think I'm giving away a lot from sharing that, especially since the series is no more. But oh my gosh, the way she portrays her role is amazing. And I learned so much about World War II, and it really makes me want to learn more, delve more deeply into books about the Women's Institute and, you know, home front efforts and all of that. So yeah, the land girls, women who farmed at home and took over while their husbands were away. It's fabulous. It's fabulous. Home fires. And then related to that is number 13, The Crimson Field. Now this centers around World War I, or the Great War. And this is about a kind of a field hospital in France. It's medics at a field hospital in France. And, you know, nurses and doctors and medical drama. It stars Una Chaplin, who is the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin. First of all, she is breathtakingly gorgeous. And second of all, she can really act. And who was the man that was in it that played the lead? Richard Rankin. What an actor. You might not see his acting quite to so much advantage in Outlander. He's in that too. But in The Crimson Field, he plays a medic, a doctor, and he's so good. He's so good. And their relationship is just captivating. And I love anything about the Great War, World War I, and I love medical dramas, and the resilience of those working at the field hospitals at this time, the sisters and so forth. And there's a really interesting section on a woman from history that you may not have heard of, and that is Edith Cavell. And you should really look up Edith Cavell's story. It's heartbreaking, but it also shows great resilience. So yeah, that's The Crimson Field. And then at number 12 is Mercy Street. That's an American medical drama set during the Civil War. And it's based on a book called The Adventures of an Army Nurse in Two Wars by Mary Finney. And it's about two volunteer nurses, one from the North and one from the South, working at the same hospital. And that was Mansion House Hospital in Virginia. And I love Civil War dramas. It is just amazing. You know, a year ago, was it last year or the year before, I read Louisa on the Front Lines, which is about Louisa May Alcott and the Civil War. And in part, one of the nurses in this is based on Louisa. And nursing during any time period, I don't know why, it's fascinating to me. I could never be a nurse, I don't think. I've been a caregiver, but I don't know if I would have what it would take to be a nurse. And I think that's why I admire them so much, for their fortitude. And, you know, when you put it in a war setting and put them in period costumes and everything, I just melt. I mean, that's just my jam. I love it. So I highly recommend Mercy Street. Mercy Street is also really interesting because it goes into how Black people were treated during the Civil War, and people who had great talent, who were not allowed to pursue their vocations or to help in the ways they wanted to help. Just really good watching. And then number 11, this is a show I watched this past March. I was blown away. I binge watched this, and that is Turn, Washington Spies. And it is based upon a book. And who was the author? Who's the author? I wrote it down here somewhere. Is it Alexander Rose? His last name is Rose. Yes, Alexander Rose. This takes place in the East, in the American Revolution. It starts in 1776 and goes through the year 1781. So it's based upon a book about Washington spies by Alexander Rose. And it is the story of a spy ring. And oh my goodness, it is so exciting. I love things set in the 1700s. And it is so exciting. You've got spies, you've got ciphers, you've got secret codes, you've got espionage, you've got rendezvous, all in the time of the American Revolutionary War as you go through each battle. And it all surrounds a character played by the actor Jamie Bell, and he is a spy. And he is, the home base is at a farmhouse in New York State. I think it's Setauket, so it's on the other side of the state from me, but it's in my state. Thank you very much. And, I learned a lot about the American Revolution from this as well. There was a gentleman, Samuel Rankin. He played Lieutenant Colonel John Simcoe, who was also a real figure during the American Revolution. What a strange, twisted, light and dark character. Like, he's really diabolical. He's a real villain, but he also does some good things, you know. It's just a fascinating character study, and Samuel Rankin is just brilliant at portraying him. And then I also fell in love with the British soldier, and that was Major John Andre. Look up the story of Major John Andre. He was a gentleman. He was a poet. He was very respectful of people on the other side of the battlefield. Very interestingly portrayed. I loved his character. So just so much. So rich. Watch Turn, Washington Spies. It is quite bloody and violent, but it's really good. Okay, number 10. Now we're going way back in the time machine to when I was a little girl down at our summer lake cottage, and we had a little tiny TV in the living room that was about this wide, and we used to watch PBS Masterpiece Theater in the early 70s, and when we were down there. And so some of the ones that were on there are among my favorite historical dramas. We're down to the top 10 now, okay? So at number 10, we have The Six Wives of Henry VIII. Now, this starred an actor called Keith Michelle, and he portrays King Henry, and it goes through each of his wives. I remember hating his character when I was a little girl, and just thinking he was the worst bully. And I just loved all the actresses that portrayed the six queens, and I was just riveted to that TV. And then at number 9, another one that came out around the same time in 1971 was Elizabeth R., starring Glenda Jackson, who plays Queen Elizabeth I, and also does an incredible job. Glenda Jackson, what an actress. And she was like my first experience of Queen Elizabeth I, Elizabeth R. She is it. She is still who I see when I think of anything theatrical having to do with Queen Elizabeth I. I think of Glenda Jackson in that role on public television in 1971. It's wonderful. And then at number 8, another from that time is I, Claudius, starring Sir Derek Jacobi. This is based upon the book by Robert Graves, the author Robert Graves, and it's about the Emperor Claudius as an old man reflecting back upon his life. And I don't know if you know anything about Claudius, but it is disability representation. He was disabled. He was born with a disfiguring limp and something with his leg. Oh my goodness, there is just such an array of actors and actresses in this. Sean Phillips plays Livia, and you will never see a more diabolical woman in your life, just conniving and plotting. It's a cavalcade of stars. Brian Blessed. You'll see a lot of actors and actresses in cameos and supporting roles. So, for example, there's Patrick Stewart. He's in it. Just a lot of people. And the thing I remember most about I, Claudius is the main theme, the credits, as it starts coming in to view on the television screen. There's a snake that's kind of making its way across an old Roman mosaic. And it's just such a sinister musical theme, and it's just ingrained in my brain and my subconscious. You really have to seek out these episodes and watch them. They're still so timely, about struggles for power and overthrowing each other and plotting against each other. And it's kind of like an old style Game of Thrones, and it's just incredible. Then at number 7, I have another tie, and this is between Anne of Green Gables and Anne with an E. Anne of Green Gables. I love every single version or adaptation of Anne of Green Gables that I've ever seen, but one that I particularly enjoy was one from 1985, and it's from Sullivan Entertainment, starring Megan Follows. And there were actually, I think, 4 movies that chronicle her time in Avonlea, and it's just a lovely, true adaptation of L.M. Montgomery's books. It's beautifully filmed. It's heartwarming. It's kind of what I see in my mind when I envision the books. However, when I did a review of Anne of Green Gables on this channel, I also said that there is that story, but then you can also read between each line and see a darker story. One which encompasses other cultural groups, one that encompasses child labor, depression, all different topics which are not as sunny, but nevertheless existed. And for that, you want to watch Anne with an E, which is a 2017 Canadian series for Netflix starring Amy Beth McNulty. And it has an opening theme that's sung by the Tragically Hip, a famous Canadian band. So you can't go wrong with that. The Anne with an E series gives you the uncandy-coated version of Anne of Green Gables. It talks about the reservation schools and how Native Americans were institutionalized and sent away to these places and usually never walked out of there again. It talks about racism, ableism, cruelty in orphanages, like I said, child labor, just so many different topics, but it doesn't do it in a way that's just obviously an attempt to be socially relevant. It does it in a way that just makes it real and treats it with sensitivity, and it tells a more complete story. And so, you know, that's if you want that sort of an unfiltered Anne with an E, it's marvelous. That's kind of what I'm hoping the new Little House on the Prairie is going to be like. So fingers crossed. I would love to see it like that. And then if you want the more traditional, beautiful, heartwarming version, I highly recommend the 1985 Sullivan Entertainment version starring Megan Follows. Okay, at number 6, we're getting down there now. We're at the last few. We have North and South, which is based on Elizabeth Gaskell's novel, and it's set in 1855. This came out in 2004 through the BBC. It's the story of Margaret Hale, and her father has decided to leave the clergy, and they move north to a cotton mill town, and the owner of the mills is the wealthy Thorntons, and John Thornton is the son. He's played by Richard Armitage. Margaret Hale is played by Daniela Denby-Ashe. It is breathtaking. It is so good. It is just so good. I love it as much as the novel. Daniela Denby-Ashe, who plays Margaret Hale, she does an amazing job. I love the way they show the mill. I love the way they portray the poverty of the time and the clash between the haves and have-nots. And of course, there is the famous mill scene. And all I have to do is tell you the one word, snow, and it will tell you, if you know, you know, from reading the novel, what snow means in the context of North and South. It's so beautifully filmed. The costumes are exquisite, and the performances are wonderful. So that's North and South. At number 5, we have Jane Eyre. Now, I really love the Mia, is it Wasikowska version. Is beautiful, gorgeous. But the version I love more in my heart is the Ruth Wilson and Toby Stephens version that came out in 2006. It has these sort of brooding sepia tones, and it's just it just captures the period, and it captures the spirit of Jane Eyre. It captures, I think, the world that Charlotte Bronte was trying to evoke. The acting's really good. The panoramic sweeps of the moors and of, Thornfield Hall and the Lowood School. Everything is just so well done. It's how I pictured Jane Eyre when I read it for the first time when I was young. So that is, and Toby Stephens is just quite handsome, and Ruth Wilson, I think she has the perfect look for this role, portraying Jane. I love all the versions I've seen of Jane Eyre, but this one is sort of near and dear to my heart, and I do own it on a VHS tape. And then at number 4, John Adams, based on the book by David McCullough. And this is about John Adams and his wife Abigail. It stars Paul Giamatti, who can read the phone book, and I will subscribe to watch Paul Giamatti read the phone book. What an incredible actor. I think he's one of the premier actors of our time, truthfully. And Laura Linney is wonderful as Abigail Adams. And in fact, when I do watch that show, I often pull out this, which is My Dearest Friend, Letters of Abigail and John Adams. And it's about their correspondence over the years. And so it's about the life of John Adams. And one of the most memorable scenes for me from this is towards the very beginning of the series, and it starts with the Boston Massacre. What is so significant about that is that John Adams represents the British soldiers who were accused of firing first. And it's about due process. It's about even if you don't like this person, they or you don't believe in them or their cause, they still have rights. They have the right to a trial. They have the right to representation. They have the right to due process and to be proven guilty in a court of law, such as the courts existed at the time. But these are the sorts of ideas that John Adams grappled with. He was brilliant. He was also obstinate and annoying, according to David McCullough, but I think Paul Giamatti does just such an amazing job, portraying all of the thought processes and the real care, the impeccability of word, the true heartfelt, dire desire to create a new country the right way from day one, to not imitate the mistakes or to repeat the same mistakes that they had seen in England at the time. And boy, could we use some of that today, going back to why they were escaping what they considered to be a tyrant, why they were escaping what they considered to be oppression, and how they wanted to wipe the slate clean and start over and do things the right way. I think I've watched John Adams as a series at least 4 times now over the course of my life. It's so worthwhile. Please watch it. Paul Giamatti, you are wonderful. Yeah. So then at number 3, Pride and Prejudice, the 1995 version. This is an obvious choice. This is a no-brainer. And it is the Jennifer L. and Colin Firth version, of course. I don't need to say much about this. It's perfection. It has just the right balance of heartache and humor. The performances are stellar. The visual richness of this particular series, it's just to die for. I mean, I can watch it over and over and over and never get tired of it. But yeah, 1995 Pride and Prejudice. Okay, we're down to the last 2. And in position number 2 is Persuasion, the 1995 version starring Amanda Root and Kieran Hines. Love it. It's my favorite Jane Austen novel, first of all. And in this novel, there is a very slow burn of an old romance between more mature characters. And I think that's why, as an older woman, I love it so much. Pride and Prejudice is fun for the first blush of love and who's going to marry who and who will get the most advantageous marriage and all of that. But this is romantic to me. This slow burn, this waiting for the correct other person, the right person, carrying a torch for years and suffering so much in polite society in front of others, wanting the other person to be there. And it's just so wonderful. Their performances are wonderful. And this version, the costumes are just gorgeous. They're beautiful. The Bath setting is beautiful. The Lyme Regis setting is beautiful. The cinematography, fantastic. Kieran Hines and Amanda Root nailed it. Absolutely. It's just a slow burn, and it's mature, it's tempered, but you sense that passion underneath that they have for each other. It's true love. It's time-worn love. It's endured, and I just love it to bits. Love the book, love the movie. Okay, the moment we've been waiting for. Thank you for sticking with me if you've come this far. At position number 1 of my favorite period historical drama series is a tie between Cranford and Return to Cranford. These, of course, are based upon 3 novels kind of combined together, all written by the wonderful Elizabeth Gaskell, who also wrote North and South. So it combines the novels Cranford, My Lady Ludlow, and Mr. Harrison's Confessions. Cranford is more of a series of comic sketches, but all three of them together create such a wonderful series. It's so well told on film. I think I like it better on film, Cranford that is, than I do as a single book. It's like Cranford the way it should be. And it stars so many people. Every other actor and actress in this you are going to recognize from something else. We have Judi Dench in one of the main roles. We have Francesca Annis, who I absolutely adore. And she plays my Lady Ludlow, and she is sort of the old guard, the old aristocracy, trying to come to grips with modernism, the introduction of the railroad, and a new way of life. Things are changing, and she is not changing with the times. She is sort of stuck where she is in history, and everyone else is moving forward, and the railroad is literally moving forward through Cranford. So many marvelous performances. Imelda Staunton is in it. You will just know everybody in it. Just leave it at that. It starts in 1842. The advent of railroads and the Industrial Revolution are coming. And so it's just about the lives of these women, mainly women, in this small town, and then the men around them, and their daily lives. The way it's filmed is beautiful. A lot of it is done by candlelight in the cinematography. It's all done in these sort of brown and sepia hues. It is such a dear favorite of mine, and I own everything on DVD, all of the Cranford discs on DVD. I watch it at least once a year, if not twice. I love watching Return to Cranford at Christmas time. You'll cry, you'll laugh. It's my favorite. I love Cranford and Return to Cranford. Okay, we made it. I went through over 30 different historical period dramas and series, and thank you for sticking with me. I know it's been a long video. It's almost an hour that I've been speaking. I'm going to try to trim this down. If I can't, I don't know, maybe I'll divide it into part 1 or 2. And thanks for sticking with me. Let me know what some of your favorite historical series are in the comments down below, and why you love them. What did I miss? What isn't on this list? Are there any lesser known gems that I should make another video about? Thanks for being there. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.